Hi, I'm Eryn. I'm a representative with Knovva Academy, and I am here with Jasveer Anand today. We're going to be discussing his position paper that he formed after the Model G20 summit that he attended. So, can you tell me your name and where are you from?
I am Jasveer Anand from Indore, which is a city located in central India.
Excellent. If your friends could describe you in one word, what would that word be?
I think my friends would describe me as passionate because I put my heart and soul into everything that I do. Like I picked up the issue of climate change in this paper as I believed that the solutions that I had can make a difference and make a world a better place to live in.
Perfect. And what's something you're known for?
I'm known for being a realist who's a cricketer and who's played at the state level, a public speaker who's done 19 MUNs and won 17 out of them, including being the first Indian to win the Best Deciding Committee Member Award at the last MG20 summit, and a person who likes to create an environment where people feel respected and comfortable to be themselves.
That's wonderful. And it sounds like you've done that in a lot of different environments too, from leadership to even working, performing in cricket too. So, how did you first hear about Nova Academy's Model G20 Summit?
My school, the Daily College Indore, presented me the opportunity and introduced me to this forum.
Oh, great. And what inspired you to sign up?
The thing that inspired me the most was that I would get the chance to meet people from all across the world, understand their culture and perspective towards global issues like climate change, which gave me a broader understanding.
Excellent. And can you tell me about your impressions of the Model G20?
My impression was that Model G20 is a platform where people from all across the world come together, have some robust discussions, and present innovative and unique solutions to some of the major global issues like smart cities, space explorations, climate change, etc.
Great. Excellent. One of the key factors of the Model G20 is being able to collaborate with other students from around the world. How did this experience alter your perception of climate change?
Attending the summit actually made me realize how severe and real climate change is, and how grave are its consequences and its impacts that are being felt around the world. It gave me an altogether new perspective towards solving it and made me realize that only by working together on things like renewable sources, we can make a major difference in solving the crisis.
Hmm, that's great. Perfect. Did any of your peers' perspectives on climate change surprise you?
Yes, actually, I remember that one of my teammates related space exploration's impact on making lives better on Earth, which actually surprised me because I've always thought of space exploration having a negative impact on the environment. And this changed my thought process and actually persuaded the idea to one of the solutions that I've listed in my paper.
That's excellent. Wow, that's so interesting. And isn't it funny to see how we can learn about different ways and different ways to look at things based on other people around the world too? So
Yeah.
now gathering the varied experiences between you and your peers, tell me something about the solutions you came up with during the event.
There were actually many interesting and practical solutions that came up during the summit. The
Mhm.
first was debris cleaning satellites using magnetic hook, which would solve a major issue, which is space debris. Smart homes, which I actually further elaborated on and used in my paper. Then creation of a sustainable space center, keeping in mind that the current space center will expire shortly, and the asteroid deflection program. So these were some of the very interesting solutions that we came up with.
Wow, that's excellent. Now, moving on to your position paper, what inspired you to write your position paper after the summit?
I've always wanted to contribute to making the world a better place to live in. And with the G20 taking place in my country, this was kind of a wake up call. This paper
Mhm.
provided me the opportunity to share my thoughts and solutions that can help solve a major global issue, which is climate change. As I was keenly following the agenda of climate change being discussed in the previously held G20 and COP26 summits, it came to me that a few simple solutions can make a large difference, and these solutions are not being implemented. So I decided to envision my thoughts and write this paper.
That's fantastic. Now, your primary solutions focused on smart homes and electricity systems, as well as cybersecurity too, which also I found a little surprising because I'm not particularly familiar with how cybersecurity could change climate change or affect climate change. So, can you tell me more about the details of each of these solutions and how and why they work?
So the first solution that I listed in my paper was smart homes, which was divided into three parts. The first part being construction using 3D printers, which would reduce the carbon footprint caused by the construction industry, as construction would be made more cost efficient and hazard free, resulting in a better designed and sustainable home. It would also reduce the harmful waste produced by the construction industry, which accounted to 600 million tons in the USA alone in 2018, which would approximately fill up 20 full sized American football stadiums. The second part being the use of recycled and processed plastic. Plastic, which has been one of the biggest menace to the world, as per UNEP, we've produced about 400 million. We produce about 400 million tons of plastic waste every year. The thing that made me think of this policy was actually India's mission to Mars, in which the satellite was actually made out of processed plastic. With this policy, we can convert what is a liability to the Earth an asset for the Earth. The third and final part of this policy was smart lighting, which involved the use of sensors to avoid wastage of electricity, as Americans spend about $130 billion a year on wasted energy, and that's only US. A combination of all three parts would result in a more smarter, cost-efficient, and environmental friendly home. My second policy is smart electricity system, which comprises of two parts: producing electricity the smart way and consuming it the smart way. Production of electricity the smart way includes extensive use of mapping satellites to identify potential for renewable resources and further explore lesser known sources like tidal and geothermal, which have a massive undiscovered potential. Only 13 gigawatts electricity is currently being produced from geothermal, which is only 15% of its discovered potential in geothermal reserves around the world. 3,000 gigawatts is the potential of tidal energy, and only 400 is being utilized. Just try and imagine the endless possibilities that this policy would open up. Now, moving on to consuming it the smart way. Consuming it the smart way includes enhancing the installation of smart grids, which would divert electricity according to the demand, saving loads of waste energy, along with making the vision of a renowned scientist Nikola Tesla a reality, which is wireless electricity. And now it is possible with Emerald, which has successfully installed it in New Zealand. Wireless transmission of electricity will reduce the deforestation that it would take to supply electricity to remote areas and making supply more accessible. The third policy in the paper was cybersecurity, ensuring a secure future. As we all know that as advanced the world gets, everything will be operated by AI. For example, smart grids. The need for cybersecurity increases. First of all, we don't need to rush in implementing more tech until and unless we are sure that it is safe to use. And secondly, we need stronger firewalls. So the G20 nations can come together, set up a world-class team of experts in the field, and create a common firewall for ensuring zero mishaps. For instance, a cyber attack against the power grid in Ukraine switched off 30 substations, leaving 230,000 people without power for up to 6 hours, which is a lot. My fourth and foremost policy will help fund all of the above policies and more. This policy will aid in funding of steps that will help combat climate change and add to the already existing climate change fund. The first part being CSR, or the Corporate Sustainability Responsibility Fund, in which all corporates will have to deposit 1% of their profit to this fund, as these funds will only be used to help the world pick up the pace towards achieving the zero emission milestone. And I believe that corporates should contribute because ultimately all of them depend on natural resources, directly or indirectly. The second part of this policy was creation of a worldwide green bond. Developed countries have failed to meet the $100 billion mark, which is meant to be just a Kickstarter for the trillions required to go zero emission. This will be like a normal bond, but the money borrowed will only be used for green projects, which would work towards making world zero emission. And the interest, half of the interest rate would be subsidized by the government, making these bonds more attractive. My goal with this policy was not to protect the environment, but to create a world where the environment would not need protecting.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I really love that statement that you finish with as well. And, an interesting theme that I noticed came up is that it seems as though the pledges are always falling short. So what countries or even companies guarantee never ends up actually happening. So What would it take for these countries or even companies to care more about these issues?
The most important thing is that they need to realize how dangerous, catastrophic, and urgent an issue climate change is, as we're already losing trillions of dollars because of it,
Hmm.
which signifies that nature will extract its price one way or or another. Plus, there are still many people who believe that climate change is not a reality, which is astounding. So, all in all, awareness will play a major role. Also, the world is currently working on self-help, which implies to governments, corporates, as well as individuals. So that would come in the way of implementation of these policies.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And I really like the self-help idea too. So, what do you think would be the biggest opportunity if your position paper ideas were implemented?
The biggest opportunity would be a smart as well as sustainable future, because unlike other solutions, these policies do not compromise on comfort of humans, as they are making lives better for human beings and saving the environment simultaneously. These policies make sure efficient utilization of the resources that we have, which would be a game changer for the long run and ensure a smart and sustainable future.
Fantastic. And of course, with opportunities, there are always challenges. So, what do you think would be some of the biggest challenges, or maybe one primary challenge that would be in order to implement your paper?
I believe that the biggest challenge with the implementation would be to get different countries to come on the same page and come to a consensus, as countries have been giving more importance to their own feuds and political issues and not caring about the environment. For instance, as stated in one of my policies, that developed countries actually failed to meet the $100 billion mark per year, which was a per year target. But on the other hand, according to Al Jazeera, the USA alone supplied arms worth nearly 100 billion since February to Ukraine and only gave $1.1 billion to counter climate change. The difference is huge, 100 billion to 1.1. The UK provided aid worth 7 billion to Ukraine and on the other hand failed to provide just 300 million in the given deadline that it promised at the COP26. This needs to change because the world leaders need to realize that the actual war is out there, not amongst ourselves.
Yes, that is hugely impactful. Absolutely. Now, this year's G20 is happening actually in your home country. Now, what is this year's G20 theme, and how does your position paper correlate it?
The theme of this year's G20 is Vasudhaiva Kutumb, or One Earth, One Family, One Future. I believe that the Indian government could not have chosen a more apt theme for the summit as the world is at a very crucial stage. And we need to put aside our political issues and feuds and solve global issues united. The theme associates with my paper as it reminds us that we only have one Earth and we need to look after it, as at the end of the day, we will have to face the consequences. Plus, India has made climate change one of the main agendas for the summit.
Fantastic. Excellent. Now, Jasveer, my final question for you is there any international platform that you think can help these policies become a reality?
So these policies require international cooperations because borders and boundaries are for us, not for Mother Nature. And forums that can help with the implementation of these policies, for starters, can be summits like the G20 or the COP26, which have countries that have the resources to implement these policies. Then in the future, reaching out to countries with a comparatively less economic affordability through the United Nations.
Fantastic. Well, Jasveer, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate speaking with you more about your position paper, and I believe that you have some really wonderful ideas, and I hope you get a chance to present them to the real G20.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.